Greetings again and welcome to the Daily Bread podcast. We are looking at day number 8, Wednesday, January 8th, 2020. We're looking at Genesis chapter 26 through 28. So we will see a little bit about Isaac and then move on to Jacob, who will start to dominate the conversation around the next few chapters. So first, let's look at Isaac here in chapter 26, and this is during a severe famine. He decides that he is going to move with his wife, Rebekah, and they are going to go to the Philistines, the land of the Philistines, to visit the king of Gerar, Abimelech, who, if you remember, Abraham went to visit Abimelech as well. So he goes to visit King Abimelech as instructed by God, and he pretends that his wife Rebekah is his sister. Sound familiar? It should, because Abraham does the exact same thing with his wife Sarah, and pretends that Sarah is his sister to King Abimelech to try and deceive him. Abimelech gets angry at this deception, rightly so. It happened twice now, but allows Isaac to stay, and Isaac prospers in a foreign land there among the Philistines. Abimelech then asks Isaac to leave because he has grown too powerful and too strong, and his flocks are too numerous. Isaac also does something else that is following in his father's footsteps too. Isaac tries to repair his father's wells, the ones that Abraham dug, because the Philistines had stopped them up. In doing so, Abimelech comes to one of the wells and they make a covenant. He makes a covenant with Isaac because he's worried about Isaac taking over this land. So we get to see that in addition to all the repeated conflict with Abimelech, the Philistines are quarreling with him over the wells, just as they kind of did with Abraham. So he's just following in his father's footsteps. It's good to see the connection between Abraham and Isaac, and we will also now see if there are any connections between Jacob and Isaac, his father. The story ends in 26 with Esau bringing strife to his mom and dad because he marries a Hittite. And remember, we're focusing on this heavily, that the Hittites were from Canaan, the curse of Ham, as we keep going back to the people who will not be inheriting the promised land, but who will be keeping those Israelites, those people who come out of the Exodus in Egypt. They will be interfering with them receiving the Holy Land, the promised land. And so Hittites are bad for this storyteller. In chapter 28, we get a little glimpse coming up in the future, sneak peek that Esau is going to try and win his parents' blessing and favor by marrying a daughter not from the land of Canaan, but to marry a daughter of Ishmael. So he'll be connected with the Ishmaelites. Let's move on to Jacob again, starting with chapter 27. Now well advanced in years, we see that Isaac, his father, prepares to give a final blessing to his firstborn son, to Esau. Isaac would love some savory food and sends Esau to go hunt and prepare it. Rebekah then seizes the moment and plots with Jacob as how to get that birthright to Jacob instead of Esau. So they ready a plan, and Jacob goes to meet with Isaac in disguise. Jacob is wearing some of Esau's clothes so he can smell like him, and holds sheepskins over the back of his hands and arms, so that way Isaac will be confused, because remember, Esau, his name means hairy. He was red and hairy, and that's what they're going to give him. Isaac, being old, has poor sight at this time, which makes it a little bit more realistic that this could happen in this way. Isaac becomes hesitant because he hears Jacob's voice, but he feels and smells Esau. And after some kind of reassurance back and forth, Isaac then extends the firstborn blessing not to Esau, but to Jacob. He says this, "May God give you the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and the plenty of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers," very important, "and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be anyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." So thus, this is going to lead to a hierarchy in the future that Esau, the nation that comes from him, will be called Edom, meaning red, but they'll be called the Edomites, and they will be under the descendants of Jacob. His name will be changed to Israel, the one who strives with God, and he will have descendants called the Israelites. So this is where the Israelites are starting to come into focus, and you get to see the Israelites who will inherit this promised land will not be subject or subjugated to the Edomites, because that conflict is going to be more prevalent in the future. Through this, it's not Esau's line who we follow, but it's Jacob's line. He becomes the important figure for us. And Esau comes back expecting to receive this big blessing from his father, but it's not to be. There is nothing left to give as far as a blessing except for, hey, you get to hang out with your younger brother, you get to serve him, you're going to live by the sword, you'll be taken care of, but you're going to be subject to him. Rightly so, Esau is mad. Esau fumes and seeks to kill Jacob, and so crafty Rebekah has Isaac send away Jacob to be with her family of origin to find a wife. So Rebekah is trying to find a way to get him to leave before Esau just kills him. So let's pick up in chapter 28 that Rebekah, of course, has Isaac send Jacob away to find a wife. And this is to avoid Esau's wrath at Jacob stealing the blessing of the firstborn, and also to avoid the ungodly wives for Jacob. Imagine that you are seeing this traumatic time for the family, that Isaac is dying, Esau is plotting, Rebekah is scheming, and Jacob is escaping. This is a very traumatic time for their family. Jacob, the guy who is called a homebody, stays in the house, must go out of his house. And in the midst of this strange journey, Jacob lays down to sleep, and he has very little with himself. He then has a vivid dream of encountering God. In Genesis 28, verse 13, it says, "And the Lord stood beside him and said, I am the Lord God, the Lord of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. And the land on which you lie I will give to you and your offspring. And your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your offspring. Know that I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised." Jacob, in awe, dedicates this place to God, and any future blessings he commits to the Lord. He institutes a tithe. And we see again this marks of the Lord with generosity and acceptance and dealing with loyal and truly. Just as Bethuel influenced Laban to be honest, we will now see that without Bethuel helping later on, Laban is the one who tries to scam Jacob. But the vow that Jacob makes around the tithe is the sense of God, if you will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me the bread to eat and clothing to wear, because right now he doesn't have much, so that I may come again to my Father's house in peace. Then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set up as a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that you give me I will surely give a tenth to you. Jacob is hoping that he will get rich, he will get wealthy in the future, and he is willing to give God part of that wealth, which that transformation, instead of the Jacob who wants to just take everything away from everybody else, he is starting to think about giving back. So may you, whenever you feel like you have nothing, remember that when you do come into wealth or future resources, that is because God is allowing you and enabling you to have that. And that may you be like Jacob, so inspired to commit what you have to the Lord, because the Lord promises you good things and abundance in life as well. So may that come to fruition for you. May you see God's hands at work in your life. And if you'd love to talk anymore, just please connect with me. This has been the Daily Bread podcast, focusing on January 8th, 2020.